Hello, folks, and welcome to the Social Marketing Academy. I am your host, Christopher Tompkins from the Go Agency fame. And I have fantastic guests for you today. Another marketing and advertising expert in my network and a fellow Forbes contributor, Dr. Janét Aizenstros, and she is going to be talking to us about how to target women consumers. Prick up your ears. It's going to be a good one. So tune in. I'll tell you a little bit more about Janét in a second. In the meantime, thank you again for tuning into the Social Marketing Academy. We try to bring every single week something new and fresh to your plate. It's basically an hour's worth of free consultation with a marketing expert. We cover lots of different topics. You can find out and listen to all of our past episodes, obviously through the podcast platform if you're listening to it on your podcast platform of choice, or you can go to gosalesandmarketing.com. On that website, and that's the Go Agency's website, there is a podcast tab, and you can see all of our past shows. And maybe you're watching this here, there. So welcome. While you're at the website, make sure to check out the e-course that we have currently. It's free, 7 days, not a big deal. Blog has lots of great articles and helpful things. And if there's anything that you need help in the digital marketing world, give me a shout. So if you have an idea for an upcoming show topic, or you have a question for me, or whatever, just get in touch with us via the website. We have a chat function on the website, as well as our contact form and social links. DM me. It's going to come to me eventually. So what can I say about my guest today for today's episode? It is Dr. Janét Aizenstros. Now, she is a signatory with the United Nations Business Account Hub for the United Nations Global Compact Network. She's an award-winning businesswoman with several leadership awards, and she has also has a phenomenal company that is focused on marketing and advertising and has a lot of clout with the top companies in the nation. So she has so many wonderful insights. So I'm just going to bring her on to our interview, and we're going to be able to talk with Janét one-on-one. And there she is. Hi, Janét. How you doing?
Hi, Chris. How are you?
I'm living. So I just kind of went through a little bit about your background, but just kind of like letting everyone know just a little bit more about yourself.
A little bit more about me.
Mm.
So, I'm the founder of a woman-led digital consultancy that works with Fortune Corps and media companies to help them connect with women consumers in an emotional, intuitive way using data and technology. I love women. I love what I do.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why I was really excited to have you as a guest, because I think that everyone is always looking at their different target audiences and kind of just missing the mark many times, especially when you're trying to focus on not only age but also on sex. If you're doing men or you're going after women, there's a specific skill set in being able to laser target those individuals through marketing and advertising. And so was it the love of marketing to women that kind of made you start your company, or kind of what kind of led you on that path?
Well, I would share that my company initially didn't start this way when I started. It was a service digital consultancy, and we did everything like that you could think of under that umbrella, from social media to web design, big project ecom build outs. But then around 2016, 2017, I decided to pivot, and that was based upon our corporate clientele requesting that how they wanted to target specifically women consumers. And so we kind of said, well, what better place to be in connecting and nurturing those relationships, and having coming to a woman. So what I did was I injected back my passion for women, which is where I started when I started my entrepreneurial journey. And I think it was a great blend. It can't always be bottom line. It has to be a combination. Passion has to fuel the purpose.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that if you don't have passion, generally you don't succeed. And I find that with a lot of prospective clients that I talk to. It's kind of like if a prospective client cannot express their why to me, I find a really hard. I find it to be a hard journey to connect with them and to help them. Because I was talking on another interview about one of the things that drives me absolutely up the wall is when someone connects the agency and I say, who's your target market? And they say, anyone that's breathing. And I said, what's your goal? And they said, to make money. It's kind of like, okay, great. Why are you doing this? There has to be a reason. There has to be a thrust. Even if you are one of the cogs in the wheel, you should know what the wheel's passion is as a cog. So what I think one of the things that I'm interested in, and if we're focused on women, and trying to target them, we've seen lots of different trends over the last year. And so, what have you seen trends in how to engage the female audience through marketing, advertising, digital, that type of thing? Have you seen anything kind of pop up as a new trend?
Yeah, definitely. I would share that any opportunity to lend a social focus to your advertising and marketing campaign and sharing stories that are based around that social focus actually evokes emotion. And many women are attracted to that. I would also say to brands, it's actually a detriment if they're not doing that in this day and age, because a lot of millennials are deeply connected to having social initiatives being their determining factor on whether they move forward or utilize a brand.
Do you feel that there's a social platform in particular that it enables you to share that message more concisely or more directly than another?
Are you sharing me directly, or are you talking about a social media format?
A social media format.
I think Facebook and Instagram are two of the easiest mediums to do that. Obviously, two different styles of how you share that message. Like Instagram, very video focused, whereas I guess you could do a combination of content and video with Facebook, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you're on Instagram, which is where the majority of people seem to be nowadays, especially if you're in e-com, you want a quick video. Videos are great because they pop. You can really entice. It's not so much about content. I can't even tell you the last time even I read an Instagram like message or story. It was more, oh, the video or the
Right.
caption, right?
Right.
Right.
Yeah, it's you're like spot on there. I laugh because one of the things that I recently had a conversation with a client, and they were going back and forth with me about the actual written caption that goes with the post on Instagram being too long. And I said, listen, we're getting in the weeds here. We need to make sure that image is arresting, so people actually want to get there. So once they get there, they're invested. So they might want to read an extra sentence or two if you have it. One of the things that we found also is that we have another client that is kind of like off the cuff, but we have a fitness client, and fitness captions on Instagram are almost 3 times as long as the normal caption. And I just thought that was really interesting in terms of grabbing the attention of the market. But you're right, it is the image itself that really grabs the attention. So with that said, you obviously are you help brands develop their images that they put out on social media, correct?
Well, we can do that too, but really when companies do connect with us, it's because our agency is in possession of the only ethically sourced data file on American consumers. So what we focus more is on directly targeted marketing. So a lot of companies come to us because what they're exhausted by is how can we maximize our ad spend without, having a lot of burnt, like the burn rate of our ad spend just gone. Like I think the number was about 25% of someone's ad budget actually directly targets their client
Absolutely.
with verified data. It then makes that more of over 90% goes directly to gathering that direct target. So even if there's 3 to 7% that's burnt off, then it becomes like, oh well, we can do that, but we're now maximizing the potential of who we're targeting and how we're targeting.
With that database, it's interesting because a lot of people don't understand that percentage, because it is very true. And that's why I said before, like one of my least favorite audiences are my prospective clients that I kind of say, I don't know about this one. is when they say anyone that's breathing is their target audience, because they're
Exactly.
going to burn off a lot of that budget.
Well, I was going to share with you, the people that say that generally don't have strong value propositions. And if you start really untangling their brand, they have no mission as to where they're going. So they don't even know who they're directly targeting. They just see every person's an opportunity for money, which is, I think, is the narrative that is also shifting in the industry. You need to know who you're targeting, because more and more sectors are becoming saturated now that everybody can be a fashion designer, everybody can be a wellness guru, everybody can be that. So the only way that you can have true sustainability in the future is to become about within niche marketing. It's being really fine tuning. Who is it exactly that you're targeting, and how are you offering value to that brand, and how are you honing in on that brand voice to your potential audience? And that's actually, if you're looking at bigger brands, like if I was just to use some examples of some bigger brands, I think even like what Adidas has been able to do with some of the brands like the Stella McCartney's, the Beyonce's, Ivy Park brand, the Yeezy brands, they're trying to tap into voices. It's not so much as about celebrities. It's the celebrities an enhancement, but it's the voice of what those celebrities or those big designer brands are attempting to say. And that's the beauty of what people should be tapping into. And it doesn't even matter if it's a small brand, right? Or even bigger brand. We even look at a company like Peloton, who does takes aspirational marketing like to 2.0, right? Like, as I share with people, Peloton is brilliant, but really what is it? It's a rebranded treadmill and a bike, right? Modernized and slapped on an iPad. And I always share that that's not to take away from it, because it's genius based upon the fact that they actually just repurposed what already existed. So we're also entering into an era of repurposing, and the people that actually understand repurposing and how to really tap into a niche are the people that are going to soar.
Oh, I completely agree with you. And it's funny because it's been a common topic on the interviews I've been having with marketing professionals, which it's like a warm blanket to me, because it's like it's focusing on the niches. And I think it's something that it's a struggle sometimes to get a client to see, because they feel that a niche is limiting. Whereas it depends on what you're doing, obviously, because if you're advertising in a magazine, it could be a little bit broader. But with digital, you're able to really pinpoint, like with your database, for example, you're able to go directly to that individual. And if you know that individual and how they breathe, what they eat, what they consume, media-wise, you can really create something pretty powerful. Now, in your experience, like if you're dealing with a client, for example, that comes and has like a little bit of a broader, what they think is a niche, but we think of as a broad target audience, you know what I'm saying? Like they come in like, oh, I have a really, really laser focused audience. It's 18 to 65 men and women, North America, that enjoy bread. And it's kind of
yeah, you couldn't get any more broader than that, right? Like,
how do you talk a client into a more niche approach? Like, how do you get them to kind of really understand the value of that?
Yeah, so what we do is that we actually sit and unpack with the client. So a lot of times, like what I share with when someone shows up at our agency, and just based upon that, many of times, like if it's a corp, some of them are larger corps that already have in-house agencies.
Yeah.
So they already know parts of who their target audience is. What we try to do is flesh out, let's fine tune that even more, right? Instead of taking it from this broader scope, right? What is your end game? What is the result that you're looking to produce? So a lot of times we start at the end of and trying to understand the story that they're trying to create. Because a lot of times what I find, so many people are so quick to get to the sale, they're missing some important pieces. And in turn, you're going to be able to determine by taking the time, getting to know what the client's needs are, getting to know the story that they're trying to shape is going to determine whether or not if you can even offer value here. Sometimes you can't, and that's okay. Yep. But that means you can refer them to another agency that may specialize in that. But I will even share this, even when people come to us and they want to work with women, okay? Women's a broad topic because there's so many different directions that you can go in. but one of the things that we specialize in is particularly African American women, right? So the Nielsen report that came back out in maybe about 2 to 3 years ago, where it talked about African American women giving the contribution of 1.5 trillion of purchasing power to the American economy. It was, they actually, a lot of those corporations sought me out specifically because they wanted a Black woman at the helm of creating the narrative for those, that messaging and that content, right? So it's not just for us, it's, we look at how do we nurture and amend relationship, right? And that becomes, so we focus on those two components when we sit down and engage a client. They may never have even tapped into that market, right? So we have to define what does that market look like and what are the needs of that market combined with the different social aspects that affect that particular demographic, right? So it's been very interesting. It's very interesting, but that's usually that's a big part of our process of how we would gather that information. And then from there, that's when we'll move over into kind of looking at data sets and proposals. And then we'll try to fine tune it from there again, once we circle back to have that conversation.
And and everyone that's listening to this, I really want you to hear what Janae's saying here. This is the process. If you feel that you can go ahead and placing an ad on Facebook is easy. I mean, all I have to do is hit this button. Let me tell you something, rub a lamp, buddy, because what this is, it's a process. You have to do a lot of legwork. You have to figure out, but the best part about that is there's checks and balances, there's metrics, there's numbers, there's things that you can hang your hat on. For example, if I'm doing an organic campaign on social media and I'm just creating wonderful content and the content doesn't land or it gets lots of views, what's the metric that we really want to be focusing on? Whereas, because that's more return on influence, but what we're talking about here is return on investment. And there, if you engage, and this is another thing that drives me crazy. Sorry, I'm soapboxing, but like one thing that drives me absolutely crazy is when someone says, "Oh wait, I have to pay for you to do the ads." So wait, you're gonna the ad budget $1,000, and then you're gonna charge me.
I'm assuming that you're dealing with small business entrepreneurs, right?
You'd be surprised. It's like we worked with an international brand that thought that everything was baked into one rate, and I said no, that's going to be how much you pay to the platform, and then the additional is going to be a percent. And it's interesting because it's like wait, we have to we're already engaging you as a marketing agency, and then we have to pay for you to manage our ads. Yes, because it's work. It takes work, it takes expertise, and
I'm baffled when people make statements like that.
Is that weird?
Weird. It's I'm gonna soapbox.
Go.
Because I just don't know how they would even possibly get there. If a multinational company thinks that they are going to just put some ads up, and I don't know, we definitely we used to have that happen a lot, and that's why I was asking if it is small businesses. But I think small businesses have actually caught up to the fact that they're going to have to put out money there, right? In order to see definitely an ROI. And I like the fact that you talked about the ROI, not just the return on investment, but the return on influence. Yes. And a lot of times people don't realize, especially startups, is that in the beginning, it's usually a return on influence, right? Like you'll get the traction, you'll get exposure, you'll get people, your social media accounts will start growing, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's become tangible yet.
Yes.
Right. And it takes a process. And I tell people the sweet spot is usually around 3.5 months. Yeah. 3.5 to that 6-month mark is when you're going to start seeing traction. If they can stand. I love the people that, show up at the door and they're like, can you turn me into a millionaire in 6 months? This is why. That's where I was going to share with you. I'm going to start soapboxing. It's like, turn me into a millionaire in 6 months. Okay, let's slow down and let's actually develop brand voice. Let's start. What do you want to say? Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't want to focus in on that.
Well, people hate the mayor being put in front of their face, and I think that that's kind of what one of the roles that I take on client when I'm working with them is to try to hold the mirror to their face as much as possible in terms of what they need to really focus on, and you have to really think yourself. In advertising is not something that you're going to spend like when people come to me and say, well, like how much am I going to get for 500? How much am I going to get for 1,000? And I say, well, your website's terrible. There's no conversion points. I can't order anything on your website. You're out of stock for most of the things. I can't keep going. Can we keep talking? $10,000 budget.
Right.
No. And it's interesting. But one thing okay, like preaching to the converted here. I have a client, and I want to talk about metrics, kind of like what metrics clients are most interested in, and ones that they misunderstand. Because I have one client that is talking about impressions ad nauseum. Like every single metric wants to be an impression. So I want to get this many impressions to this person, this many impressions for this, but no other metrics are being looked at all.
Why does he want impressions and not conversions?
This is what I'm asking you. what I
I'm trying to, because I'll share this. When you have people that talk like that, you just have to smile and nod, because a part of it is that you don't want to, you have to eventually deflate their tire, because that there is in fact a difference. Impressions is just the traffic and the traction. We're talking about how do we take people that are just peeking, looking, and converting them into following, and then converting into sales. Like this is it. And I'm right there with you, because it doesn't matter the size of company. We even had a client a few years ago, which was a big multinational. And then we got into the meeting and we're like, they should know this. They're talking about, they're talking about top of funnel. It's like, dude, you can't even talk top of funnel. You don't even have a value prop for this new venture that you're developing. And so, like, meanwhile, I'm not involved so much in the day-to-day anymore. I'm just more of the spokesperson, but it's just, even when I listen in on meetings, it's the stories. The stories are hilarious.
Stories for days. And it's interesting, because what I've done is, one of the things that I do is, if a client is coming to me and they choose not to understand what the metrics are going to be, you know what I mean? Like they're choosing to like just not understand. They want to focus on what they want to focus on. What I will do is I will deliver the metric that they're focused on. And what I see is, my analogy is, I say it's the Chinese food. It's gonna make it, they're gonna be hungry in 30 days. They're gonna be hungry in 30 minutes, 30 days.
Oh, wait, Chris, that's not PC. That's not PC.
No, you're right. You're wrong guy. Like, then what I'll do is I'll put like a nice warm steak underneath that Chinese food. So when they're done with it, there's a steak underneath, and the steak is what should be focused on. Yeah. And it could be if it's looking at, because what I generally get is, if we're talking about advertising in particular, what's the goal of your advertising, Chris asks. And they say, I want more visibility. I'm like, oh, golf clap.
I'm glad that he defined why we're here.
Yeah, that's the one. So I'm going to cost this much money, so you're going to get the second bill and ask me for leads, right? Second bill, okay. So I'm going to build that into the campaign. Well, I've saved them. Well, excellent. Let's look at both sides of the ROI, because we want to get that return on influence for you, but we also need to get the return on investment. And that's when I try to start looking at the conversion points, because they're like, oh, conversion points. Yes, we have a wonderful white paper. And I was like, excellent. Well, that's lodged up under a rib on page 45 of your website. So why don't we put that as
and then the other funny part is, no SEO is done. This is the other part where I love when they show up. No SEO is done, but they want visibility, but they haven't done SEO, which actually has to be done in conjunction with launching the campaign. That needs to be done. If you want visibility, that's the first place to start. And then while we're building out the assets for the initial campaign, let's just start with SEO. I find that funny too, but I also found funny is like how people even bigger brands only started taking SEO seriously when COVID hit last year. Yeah. It's like, where have you been?
It's the same thing. It's the same thing I'm finding today with video, and I think what we've kind of discovered is that a lot of people have more time to be silent and with themselves, and more room for their thoughts. And a lot of the ideas that we had that might have been too out of the box, or they may think that, oh, that's going to take too much of my bandwidth to really digest, or whatever, they're asking about, and they're saying, hey, remember that idea you had pre-COVID? Let's talk about that. And I feel that I have a better angle, not angle, that sounds a little bit disingenuous, but I'm able to connect better with my clients and get closer to them as humans and what they're looking for. But one point that you made that I really want to kind of shake out is that if someone's looking to do advertising, the way you're going to get the most out of it is if you do have your SEO done on your website, you do have your value proposition in place, you do have a website that loads fast. Like, don't tell me that my ads aren't working when you have a 95% bounce rate. So I'm going to look and see how it loads on a mobile phone. You have to look at all of these different things when you're kind of going through it. Like, if I could count them, like, I'd need more hands. How many clients do not have mobile responsive websites and they're trying to drive traffic to an audience that is like 95% iOS users? It's like, it's challenging. So, I mean, anyway, I digress.
Listen, you're definitely preaching to the choir. I'm right there with you. I just think that of people are people need, so we're going to backtrack to something. I think like a part of even the frustration that exists for many advertising and marketers is many people showing up at their door really don't understand social media marketing and social media advertising. They don't see that there's a difference. They both work hand in hand, but there's in fact a difference. One is what is the brand voice. The other part is the actual engagement. And so let's just even getting them to understand that is already becomes like you're already talking over their head, right? So it's, how do I make this as simple as possible? Which means that for some clients, you have to handhold them through the process. You have to invest time in providing them with doses that are like nuggets of like, oh, and this is what this looks like. A lot of times I feel agencies provide people with proposals that even other marketers can't understand.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah. Or another agency they go to another agency and then they have an unfortunate experience and then they show up, well, this is what they offered me. Can you do the same? I have no idea what I'm even looking at. Right. My favorite is, especially when it comes to like e-com or Shopify build outs, when they go to another firm and then they show up there and then they want the exact same thing. And the company has done their own type of link, like code, like within the invoice or the bill. And it's like, I don't even know what they're saying. We're going to have to let's just start from fresh. What do you want? Right.
Mm-hmm. And that's kind of like going back to the core value of what do you actually want to get out of the program? And also, anyone that's listening, if you give me a proposal from another company,
pardon, I missed what
you're going to do the same stuff to my proposal, so I don't trust you immediately.
Yeah, well, this is it, right? And that's exactly it, because it's like, why did they leave the company? I always share this with the staff, like, why did they leave the company? Why are they connecting with us? Like, I think it's also being discerning, and I know everybody's in a place right now where, markets have been disrupted. And so everybody's just trying to cling on for dear life and clients. But there are some people that thrived during, the last year. And I think that there's something to be said for that.
Yeah, I think there is. And I think that the people that really did thrive were the ones that were ready to organically move through change. And I think that they're the ones that looked at change and understood it. And it kind of saw like, okay, this is not going to be just one shift. There's going to be multiple shifts. I mean, 2020, how many different shifts did we see? We saw
oh my gosh,
political shifts. We saw a sociology shift. We saw attitudes change, like things that we never thought of about certain people are now we're thinking about those people. And it's very, very different. I mean, obviously, lots of negativity on 2020. It's a marketer. That's like fantasy. I mean, it's like a big puzzle, and it's lots of change, and there's lots of things that you can kind of, and I'm a big fan. I'm a big proponent of talking to people and in their own language, getting them where they are, and appealing to what they want, rather than just like buy this. But it's
exactly. And I think that 2020, and I agree with you, there was a lot of change, but I think there was also a lot of opportunity and possibility.
Yep.
Right? Because what we did see was huge e-com surges. Like a lot of us saw a retraction. Those of us that dealt with larger clients, we saw a step back from those larger clients, but the influx of pivoting into e-com markets, think about how many new brands launched and how many existing brands actually soared during that time, because they were just consistent and prepared for those opportunities, right? And I think this is always the reality. The people that sustain are the ones that are able to create substance or create opportunities within a downturn of the economy, and actually I think Gary Vee even said that years ago. You're going to tell the true entrepreneurs are the ones that are become, what is it called, proof, they can stand the test of time regardless of what the market is dictating, right? Recession proof, that's the word that I was looking for. Yeah, recession proof. And I think that's the truth. The sectors that soared last year, like when we look at e-com and home development, home repair, oh my goodness, like those are areas because people had time, their hobbies were taken away, they were in a place of where now they were forced to focus, right? So because they were forced to focus, they were actually forced to slow down and to be more intentional. And so we're seeing some other sectors that are resurrecting, but this is also the sectors that are like truly affected, like travel and hospitality. It's also giving them the opportunity and the possibility to create more sustainable options within those sectors. Because it's not, let's just have this conversation. It's not like none of those sectors didn't know, and no different than some of the larger companies. Some of those larger companies knew. Their risk management teams have been talking about the potential of something for years, right? And no one puts in a contingency. And then when something like, no one could have anticipated COVID. So we're definitely not pointing fingers at that. But I think that people, what we need to talk about is more of fiscal responsibility within executive management and developing stringent contingency so we don't lapse back into the relying on government to do things for us when something takes place. That should be the last case scenario. Companies should have contingencies.
Completely agree with you.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, and also I think being open to the unknown and being open to experiment is really, really important. We're talking about my own agency as an example. We didn't have industries that were hard hit, so we didn't I know a lot of our peers kind of like just shed clients immediately. Like anybody in the entertainment industry, anything in the live entertainment industry, a lot of people in the luxury market, a lot of people in travel. I mean, all the things that you obviously hospitality, and hotels, blah blah blah. But what I decided to do when this hit was I knew that our clients were stable, but I knew that the future was going to be different. So what I did was I kind of sat with myself and said, I don't feel comfortable marketing myself right now. I think we should build a community. And I wanted to build community. So what I did was I reached out to other agencies and find out what they were doing and how they're doing it. And we started working together. And I'm not going to go outside and hug a tree, but like at the same time, I really like community. And I was never that person. That's uncomfortable for me. I'm an extroverted introvert. So
I'm right there with you. I totally understood that. But I think that you're 100% right. People have been looking for community in different ways because, and going into these secluded dynamics with restrictions being placed, people have started seeing the value of people again. And that is actually the biggest part. We're sharing stories, we're targeting people online, but we've been lacking luster in our terms. We're talking about social media engagement, but we've been hindered in our social engagement. People didn't, like prior to COVID, people didn't put much emphasis on the value of relationships anymore or human affection. They saw it as, it's a dime a dozen. I can reach out and text somebody whenever I feel like it until it's taken away. And then you start realizing, well, maybe I can't reach out and touch someone, even when restrictions have been lifted. So Canada right now is in a red zone. And so even when we came out of our first red zone in the summertime, you'd meet with somebody and normally you would give this person a hug, but you can't. So you shake their hand, you can't. So then you almost feel like you're pulling back. And so when things are taken away, we're seeing people having to step out. And one of those areas is community, but community is actually a lot of where I feel marketers don't realize it's about creating impact. That's another piece of your story, right? Yeah. That now creates your social narrative. So it's not just the stories that you're creating for other people, but also around your brand, which actually entices a lot of people to want to align with you.
Completely. And I think what it's interesting as a marketer too, to start talking about impact and community, and the value of people kind of understanding that, oh, I actually miss people now. And it's really interesting because I have a theory about 2020, and I think that everyone really leaned into different causes. And some of the people that were really missing that one-on-one interaction leaned into things in a very radical way in order to gain attention for themselves. And I found that that was really interesting because the people that were never really radical about anything were radical for the sake of being radical. And then you can see the people that were radical and presenting things in a like authentic way. And I just thought that was so interesting because I was literally building campaigns at the end of 2020 on the radical think that they are original snowflake people. And it's like they're in a snowstorm where everyone feels like they're snowflakes, you know what I'm saying? And kind of like, well, here's an original thought. And it's like, dude, like everyone's had that thought. But glad that you're thinking. But no, it's really interesting. But I think that it just like just kind of wrap that this kind of part up. I think that it's really important for everyone to be open about new ideas, be willing to kind of try things out, and also talk to an expert. If you're considering doing advertising, like if you're talking to Janét now, if you talk to Janét and she will give you answers. She will tell you what you need to do. She will tell you that you might need to do this first. And what would you do otherwise? Just kind of like toil away on your own, trying to figure it all out. You can talk to an expert, and then we're here to help you. We're not here to don't back up your truck of money to our door and say, make this work. See how we can make it work for you.
Exactly. It's about the relationship. It is around a relationship. We have a saying at Have a Digital, and it's actually a company-wide mandate of relationship first, transaction second. Because if you don't have the relationship, it doesn't matter about the money. It's just, and in fairness, I tell this to all advertisers and marketers, it will be an uphill battle if you don't have the relationship, right? Especially, and it depends on what tier, but like corps, generally they pay you and then they go, or you have to wait a little of maybe 60 to 90 days for payment. But if you're dealing with some of those smaller agencies, scarcity beyond belief. Scarcity, like those smaller companies, they're scared because they've never done this before. So if you don't have relationship, that's not going to go anywhere. And we're not here to think for you. We're here to help you think.
Yes.
Right. That's actually the best marketers help you think, right? We're here to be resourceful, and then we will offer injections of or disrupting facts that will help you to pivot mentally. But we're here to help you think. What we're here to do with you is to make things look pretty, fine tune your voice, and then directly target your ideal client.
Exactly. And it's utilizing our expertise because that's why you're hiring us. And I find that for relationships that don't work, and if you're looking for an agency and you're kind of this is your point of view, I would say maybe don't look for an agency. Someone to take your orders. If you just want to say, okay, excellent, I want to do this advertisement. This is the target audience. This is the budget. I want to run this on Facebook. I want it to run here. The creative should be this. And hey, why don't you get an intern? Why don't you just get someone in your own company and tell them what to do? Don't talk to an agency. We're here to be strategic partners. So like you said, help you think, to impart our wisdom. But if you're going to dictate the path, that's not using us the best way that you can.
Yeah, because you're exactly what you said, Chris. We're partners in this. This is not, even if you're paying us to execute the services, does not mean that we are at your whim either, right? And that like you're dictating orders. Because ultimately we are here to help you think, right? These are your ideal clients. And in fairness, that also gives you a prelude. If they're dictating orders, imagine what their potential clients would feel like, right? The people showing up at their door, what is their customer service like? So that I think, I almost feel like there needs to be a hand guide for marketers on how to navigate through, and for those utilizing marketers on what not to do and how to approach and how to work with.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God, yeah, I would love that. And I'd buy that book and I have a whole stack of them and send them out to every single new client. I mean, it's fun. It's interesting because there's idiosyncrasies with every single client that you have, because everyone's different personalities, different background, different grasp on the marketing topic. But if you're going to engage somebody, engage them in terms of being a collaborator. Like I say this all the time, I want to be your marketing department down the hall. I don't want to be that Florida agency over there. You know what I mean? I want to be like part of your team. And,
Right.
and I think that if we can express that and land that concept with every client, that's a big win for us. And because we find out all the other things that they're doing, not necessarily all the skeletons in their closet. I mean, I'll find that out. I'm telling you. But at the same time, I'm able to see that, oh, you're working with a PR agency. Let's collaborate with that agency. Oh, you're working with the SEO company. Let's see what your keywords are. And then they're like, oh, well, I don't know if I want you to talk to them. And it's like, well, what village are you building here?
Well, exactly. They don't realize that everything has to operate in cohesion to get a unified voice.
Mhm.
When they look at these brands online, they have unified voices. They're not inconsistent. And the inconsistencies usually come from a multitude of different factors taking place in the background, which is, the right hand has no idea what the left hand is doing.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
sometimes there can be overlap, and then there's just a total mismatch of
Mm.
what the overall voice is, the overall message is.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Oh my God, I've had such a good time talking to you, Janae.
Thank you
I,
for having me.
Yeah, no, it's been a really great interview. Where can people learn more? First, I'm going to precursor and say this: the all the links to where you can find Janae are in the description of the show, either on the podcast or on the video. But can you let everybody know where they can learn more about you and your company?
Well, they can find more about me at janetaizenstros.com, or they can find me at jaizenstros on Instagram or LinkedIn. Those are the two ideal spots where many people follow me, especially on LinkedIn. But about I Have a Digital, it's ihaveadigital.com, and you can find all things there.
Fantastic. Folks, use her, seek her out, get in touch with her. She knows her stuff, and the campaigns that she puts together are like really second to none. So if you'd like to learn more about her, please take a look at the information links in there. We have some really fantastic shows coming up in the future. Again, if you want to learn more about the past shows that we've had, I mean, obviously subscribe. Hello, why aren't you doing that already? Give me a break. Go to our website, gosalesandmarketing.com. Gosalesandmarketing.com. We have our show, our podcast page on there. Take a look at the videos. You can listen to things. You can leave me a compliment. I like those. Then also take a look at the blog. We have some great articles. I just don't write for my help. I write for you so I can help your business. And please drop into my DMs deep. Give me some ideas for shows that you want. Anything that you want to learn about, this show is the vehicle for it. So until next time, Janét, thank you so much again. And we will talk to you again on a future episode of Social Marketing Academy. See y'all.